Okay, good afternoon, Brian Shannon. It is Thursday afternoon, May 12th. Market just closed here, and it was a pretty ugly day for the Nasdaq and for the rest of the market as well. But I tend to focus here on the Nasdaq, so we'll continue to look there. Yesterday, I wasn't very thrilled about the market, and it expressed a lot of concern about the way the market was acting, the fact that it's been making this series of lower highs and lower lows since about the last month and a half or so, and had warned that a break below this trend line, which after three tests I mentioned a lot of times does break down, that it could lead to a pretty severe decline, and that's exactly what we saw happen today on a big increase in volume. So that uptrend line has been broken. Now, when we look at the weekly chart again, like we did yesterday, we can start to look in here and see where this market has the potential to go to. We had mentioned yesterday that the prior resistance from late 2004 that did become support again in late 2005 and most of this year near that 40 and a half level is where the market is right now. So I would expect maybe a little bit selling more in the morning tomorrow, and then an attempt to stabilize in here. If I clear out these, you can see this green moving average here represents a 40-week moving average. Well, the 40 weeks, 5 days in a week, that's your 200-day moving average. A lot of times, the uptrending 200-day moving average will tend to act as support as well. So there's a couple reasons to think that perhaps we could get a little bit of stabilization in here, but I think that before we do, we might get a little bit more sell-off tomorrow morning. I'm not going to come up with any new ideas for you right now. What we're going to do is take a review of other stocks, but just take a look in here first of all at the different stages of a stock's life. And here we can see them, the stage two uptrend on the short-term time frame in the Qs, followed by distribution, and then we had that stage four decline, which obviously, when the market's in a decline, you don't want to be buying it. So stay away from the long side pretty much. I had mentioned a few of the stocks that had been blowing up as reason for my concern, and we saw more of that today. Google looked like it broke down and failed this recent. Let me type the symbol back in there. But anyways, the stock tried to break out here past that 400 level, and it broke down through that today. Now you got a lot of people trapped in there. The look of Google is not very strong in here at all. Though, you could make a slightly bullish case that it's on its rising 50-day moving average, but I think we're going to see worse times ahead for Google as well. So the blow-ups continue, and that was one of my main reasons for concern yesterday is the amount of stocks that had been broken down. And I had shown maybe a dozen or so of those yesterday. Let's take a look at some of the stocks I had mentioned yesterday. First was Aether. I said you want to set an alert at 415. This stock really isn't doing much of anything at all. For now, I would just keep this off the list. It was slightly bullish candle, but nothing really going on in there. Avaya, I had mentioned that it looked like, well, let's go back to that daily chart. Looked like it might have been finding support along that rising 10-day moving average. Well, this is why you don't buy pullbacks to a moving average. What you use a moving average for is a reference point to compare a trend to. The value of a moving average is that a lot of people look at them, and a lot of people start to put bids in there. A lot of sellers start to they stop selling, so there's less supply available for the stock. That, along with the increased bids as people nibble at the stock, tends to produce support near there that oftentimes sees the market turn back higher from. Well, this is why you don't blindly buy. Instead, what you do is you drill down to shorter time frames. You look at where the resistance is on the short-term time frame when we had said 1260, and we want to see the stock make a higher high on the short-term trend. It didn't do that, so bye-bye Avaya, off the list. Next one, China. We looked at China, and I was hoping that it could get back above this high that it tested yesterday at 495, and suggested that a stop ought to go at about $4.73, which was below this low here. You can see the stock did break down. Now China is off the list as well. So a lot of stocks breaking down. The key is if you were in these stocks, you probably took a very small profit or maybe broke even. I don't know. But the point is, if you're going to take losses, make sure they're small. I mentioned Hytham, perhaps above $8.85. Well, that stock quickly broke down. If you took a loss, I think it probably should have been below this low right here. So it should have been a small loss if you did take one. NKTR, I've mentioned this one numerous times yesterday. I thought that the stock needed to get above 2250 in order for us to really become interested in buying it. It didn't do that. NKTR is breaking down as well, needs to heal a little bit. So another stock to scratch off the list for now as far as a long candidate goes. NVAS, this was the bulletin board, exotic minerals company. I think the natural resource stocks are getting a little bit overdone. This stock still looks pretty good, but it is bulletin board. I'm going to tell you to just stop watching this one. I really don't like the way it trades right now, particularly on that intraday time frame where it was so thin. Omni I had liked. The stock gapped higher. There was no reason to chase it up there, so there was no reason to get involved in Omni today. The shorts that I had mentioned yesterday, FFIV, this is one that I really liked a lot and actually got short this morning, expecting a big breakdown. Let's look at the 10-minute chart. I had gotten short pretty good in here, expecting it to break down. The stock frustrated the heck out of me. There's some buyers in there, and you can see that we had big volume towards the end of the day too, and these buyers came back in and rescued the stock. Now I don't know why they're buying this stock. It looks pretty bearish to me. I was thinking perhaps it would come down to the 200-day moving average near 55.75. That obviously didn't happen, so this one doesn't really thrill me as a short. MSCC 2705, I said, as long as it was stayed below 2705, it looked like a good short. Real nice move in there today. Big volume at the end of the day. If you're in this stock, I would say, short, if you held it overnight, I'd put my stop above this $26 level at this point. That's where I would lock in any gains that I had. CREE, C-R-E-E. This stock, I wanted to, I suggested that, that the stock got a little oversold yesterday afternoon and that you wanted to see a rally up towards $30.35. Well, what I had mentioned, let's take a look at the 2-minute chart, was that you didn't want to sell it on the strength. Let's look at the 1-minute chart, actually, of just today. And let me just change the scaling. Snap to window. And what we saw here this morning was that it did rally up to that $30.35 level quickly. You could have got short in there, or you could have gotten short, like I'd mentioned, after it rallies up and then starts turning back lower. This was really the ideal time to get short this stock, was after it had rallied up and then started moving lower. So now that the stock has dropped, I would say stop above 29.50 or so. Finally, ISSX was our final short candidate. I said that as long as it stays below 2165, that we ought to, look at this one as a potential candidate for the short side. I'd say your stop probably goes up around there. Let's see if we can get something a little bit more precise and let's say about 2135 or so. That's going to wrap it up for now. Let's just take a quick look actually at the spiders. I've just noticed I always do that. I say we're going to wrap it up there, and then I keep talking. The market's finding resistance along this upper trend line. I don't know if that's telling me anything, but S&P acts a lot better. Good support probably near that 130 level on the SPY. Anyways, a lot of risk in this market. Perhaps I'll be back tonight. Actually, check back tonight around 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll have some more video ideas for you. And thanks for your time. Have a great day. This is, again, not trading recommendations, but just ideas for you to look at opportunities out there where you can potentially make some money. Thanks for your time, and have a great day.